So in the name of SIMS and also the Prague Civil Society Center, I would like to welcome you all to our debate titled Students Leading the Change, Armenia's Velvet Revolution, Democratization, and Civic Engagement. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, which is Mr. David Petrosyan, with whom we'll be discussing the role of students in democratization and transition. David Petrosyan, as Emily already mentioned, was one of the student leaders of the Velvet Revolution in Armenia and is a longtime student activist. In 2018, he co-founded Restart, which is a student platform aiming to improve Armenia's educational system and also accountability of universities towards students. He later served as an assistant secretary of the Armenian Security Council and is currently a PhD candidate at the Faculty of International Studies at Yerevan State University, where he is researching the connection between democracy and security. In Prague, which he is currently for the fall, he is a fellow at the Prague Civil Society Center, pursuing a fellowship about the possible role of civil society in post-conflict transformation and in democratization processes based on the experience of Central and Eastern European countries. In 2 weeks, we have International Students' Day and also the Struggle for Freedom of Democracy Day, which all Czech people know how important it is to us. So I think this debate today is very relevant, very topical to see the importance of students in other countries and other contexts. So before we begin officially, something about the structure. We will start with a short video, a short introduction, a short video, and then we'll have a first introductory session where I will ask David some questions just to bring us all up to speed, and then I will open the floor to you. So if you have any questions, please remember them or write them down. There will be plenty of space in the back half of the debate. Thank you. I don't know how many people here follow Armenian politics, but just to bring us all up to speed, in 2018, Armenia experienced a remarkable popular uprising, very similar to the popular uprising that we witnessed in 1989 in Czechoslovakia, where the people rose up against the increasingly authoritarian regime of then-President Serge Sargsyan and his ruling Republican Party of Armenia. This event took observers, international and domestic, by surprise, and the nonviolent protest movement led by current Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan forced the resignation of Serge Sargsyan. The immediate cause of the revolution was the fact that Armenia transitioned from being a presidential republic to a parliamentary republic where the ruling regime was attempting to bypass the limits on the presidential terms. Serge Sargsyan had been president for 2 terms, and he would become the prime minister of Armenia with similar power. After he was forced to resign, Nikol Pashinyan, the current prime minister, became prime minister in a minority government of his Way Out alliance until the snap elections later that year in 2018, where his My Step alliance won the majority of seats and started Armenia on a path of democratization. What was truly remarkable about this movement was how many young people participated in it. It was truly carried by students who led the change, and that is what we're going to be talking about today with David. And we would like to start off with a short video to show you the atmosphere of the events in the spring of 2018. So if I could ask Natalie for video.
Իրական փոփոխություն չկա։ Ոչ մի պաշտպանական բողոքություն չի, այլ վնասել է դեպքի լուսավորը։
սկսել։
Ուսանողությունը ավելի ազատ էր, ավելի արագ էր, ավելի էմոցիոնալ էր, ավելի ռոմանտիկ էր, նոր Հայաստանի ծնունդ էին վերջապես այդ ուսանողները, ովքեր փորձեցին նոր լիցք հավաքել։
Եղեք հոթելը պլյուսը և նացիական այդենք ավրացան հրապար։
Thank you. So as we just saw, it was an unprecedented mobilization of people, of young people who didn't grow up in the Soviet Union and who wanted change and wanted a new country that they could pursue their dreams in. Could you tell us more about the events that we saw in the video from the spring of 2018? What exactly were the students doing?
Hi. So, as you like in this short video, you saw how a revolution happened in Armenia, and according to many experts, like politicians, like people who have been into Armenian politics, it was suggested that students have a very important role in this revolution. Before this revolution, like there were two student protests, reactive movements, which enabled us to be able to mobilize so much students, because it was not like the 10 days or 20 days as this revolutionary process started, like we had already this mobilization. It was a work of like a year that we were able to mobilize so much students, and this is very connected with our discussion, and as you are students now, as me, like it's very actual. And this place symbolizes the importance of freedom of students, like, and the fact to come up with initiatives and be responsible. So, like the first movement which we did in Armenia, it was in 2017. It was our first step. At that time, there was no any discussion that the power system in Armenia is going to be changed, and like we had an authoritarian system. We had a ruling party which was very strong. They were controlling all institutions, not only like political ones, like judicial, executive, but also university structure as well. And it was like a structure more it can be compared to the ones that we have during the Soviet Union. So like there were student council, but it was more artificial one. It was not protecting the rights of the students, but mostly it was protecting the interests of the administration. In all Armenian universities, there were board of trustees, and the head of board of trustees were from political parties. For example, the head of board of trustees of Yerevan State University, which is the largest university in Armenia, was Serge Sargsyan. And the board of trustees was like having all the decisions, starting from the budget, structural changes. So there was not even any speak about like educational, like curriculums or other stuff. So our first movement was for student discounts. So the people who had high GPA, yeah, like more than 80, they were receiving discounts. But then they decided to cut off this, to stop this, and there was no any like criticized from the students. So with my friend, who is currently the deputy minister of foreign affairs of Armenia, we started this movement of like we want our discounts. So like I wrote down some points which are very important for us. This was very important. What we did at first, like we didn't do like strikes, like saying that you should change it. We go on institutional way. So we met the head of the student council, which was my friend from the army. So like we told them, you know, it's not a transparent decision and we want a discussion because our opinion nobody asked. But it comes that 80% of the money of the university comes from our student fees. So maybe we can ask something, maybe you can give a question and you are like student council, you can represent our interests. They told us, okay, we are going to discuss it and we will come up. So we told, okay, so we'll wait for your opinion. And we asked a place to have a discussion because we were not able in our university to have a room and to discuss something. It was very administrative stuff, and even if you want to have a room, the rector should give approval. If he is not approving, so you can't have a room to discuss something. So he went like to discuss this with the administration, and he came back and saying that, you know, like we agree that our university is very difficult economic situation, financial situation, we don't have money, so we should cut off. And then we started to do some research on the finance of the university. And this is the next important stuff. It's very important to know about what we are speaking. It's very important to be very informative. We should have more knowledge, like more information on what we are speaking than even the administration. In this case, like we are less vulnerable. So we do the research and we understood that there is a foundation in Armenia, Youth Foundation, which was established in 2002 by the previous president, Robert Kocharian. And according to the law, like 2% of each university budget was going to the Youth Foundation. And we did some research on this Youth Foundation. I had friends there, so I asked them, what are you doing? Like they were organizing big camps for students, mostly for this party stuff. And if you research this was like in Soviet Union time, Communist Party organizing youth events. They go there, so it was organized mobilization. Like there were a lot of people there, and who were very active in that camps. Then they were becoming their high positions. For example, our previous Minister of Education, Head of Parliament, so all the youth stuff was coming from that parts. And also I had a friend there, and he told me, you know, David, like this Youth Foundation is not very much as you read it on the internet. For example, during the parliamentary elections, we had parliamentary elections in 2017, they said me, if I collect voices, like it means if you bring passports of some people and guarantee that these people are going to vote for this party, they will give me a discount. So I asked him, so were you successful? He told me, yeah. I'm receiving 50% of discount. So what is important here? This was grassroots information. This could not be obtained via internet or something. This was grassroots, and this guy trusted me, I trusted him, because like we had some friends together, so it was very important to have this information. So if you compare how that worked, that Youth Foundation, in Russia there is a similar organization of Vladimir Putin's party. It was suggested by Surkov. I don't know if you know him or no. Like he was was giving like advice on ideology. He was the head of administration. So it was very similar. So we started to speak about this, and we put a meeting outside of the university by telling that, okay, we'll meet outside if we don't have opportunity to meet inside. And as the people came, they come to us. Like, can we know what is going on? We want to have some information. And we told them, you know, we come to you. You were not interested. Now you are just disturbing us. Just let us to have our meeting. Then the deputy rector called to my number and said, if you want, you can come and have a place in university. You can speak inside the university. You are our students. So here comes this next thing. When like there is no much people, when there is no like when you are not public, it's difficult to get attention. But even if one mass media comes, like if they say, for example, there is an event at the university, the administration becomes nervous, because it means maybe they will get a call from some party place and what is going on there. This is your role to control, but there is something that you don't know, so they become nervous. And we should work on that part. It means that like if they start to pay attention, it means that like we are on the right strand. So we had our first meeting, and what was the important for that meeting? We came for the discount meeting, the deputy rector came, and students started to voice up a lot of problems. So this meeting for discounts became a place where students start to speak. And we were able to declare that we need a room for discussions, you know? Like we have 40 students here, we have 18,000 students in the university, there are 40 students here, and they speak about various problems. I will give you just one example. For example, there was a girl who didn't have father, so in that case she should have received discount, 50%. And she told that I'm not receiving discount, but each 6 months the administration asks me to bring paper that my father is dead. Like, can't you have computers? So I'm not to repeat this information every 6 months. So we had this meeting. It was very important, and then we started to have these negotiations. And what is important in this part? Before going to negotiations, it's very important to have the maximum goals and the short goals. And it's very important to have these meetings very open. Like they will say, you know, like you are the leader, come, we will speak to you, we will find a solution. And when you go inside, they are starting like to provide their help. So do you have problems with lecturers? Don't you want to be in the student council? So like anything that like may be interesting for you. At this time we should stay calm. We should know that their aim is to decrease the efficiency of the movement and to penetrate into. And what we were doing, we were saying, okay, this is a public, we're like meeting together, but what we speak here, all students will know. Nothing can be spoken here like between us, because otherwise students will not trust. Because when they speak to you, then they also go to speak other students and start to make disinformation via student council or like they have other structures. So we managed to do that. They said like we are going to change something. We will go there. Didn't they do anything? Then we knew that the prime minister is coming to Armenia. We had new prime minister was sent from Russia. He was a very charismatic person. He was saying Armenia should be like vibrant, educative, and he was really successful. He had a lot of voices, but we were understanding what he was doing. It was like rebranding. So when he came, there was a big student meeting with lecturers, with students, and in that morning, like I woke up, like I was not very in good mood because we were not moving forward, and my father said, maybe you can use this event. Like, go with placard and say, you know, like university needs money. Dear government, you are saying that we should help your university, we should help the youth, but our university needs money. Maybe you can help us. So when we went inside, like we dispersed there, like 100 people, and when he started to say that our youth, our education, Yerevan State University is very important for Armenia, we made these posters. And he said, what it is? I said, hello, Mr. Prime Minister, we are very happy to have you here, but we have a question, and we are sure that you are going to help us. You know, we have a problem. Our university does not have money to continue to pay like this excellency fee. And it was like a political part, and for him it was very difficult to refuse, and he told, we are going to discuss that. And I asked him, for how many days like you will give us a response? And he told, like, from 3 days I will give a response. And from 3 days we had the response, and the student fees were restarted. But the next movement, which was like more important, we have military service in Armenia for everyone. It's 2 years, like it's compulsory military service. But the students with high excellency can continue their education. It means if you go at 18, like at 17, when you go to university, if you have high grades, you don't go. You receive deferment for 4 years. But if after bachelor's you are successful, you go for master's, then you go to PhD. So they were having a decision that everybody should go. By saying that everybody should serve in the army and we are going to have a stronger army. And we told them, you know, we are living in 21st century. It's not about people, it's about intelligence, it's about education. So the people who study at university, these people also can be productive for army. It's not that we have a lot of people, it means we are strong. And we started, there was a group, 5 people. It was very difficult to speak about army in Armenia at that time. Like we were saying that we have the strongest army, no problems in the army. But the people who served in the army, they know there were problems. For example, me, my friends, we served and we know that we all have a lot of problems, and we know that to solve these problems we should voice up these problems. And we started to have our second movement, and we go on the institutional way. We sent letters to the Minister of Education and Minister of Defense. We had meetings with the Yerevan State University administration, with the lecturers. And we had and we started to use Facebook Lives. Indeed, it was the first case when in Armenia, these Facebook Lives have been used. And one of our friends was in the student council. We were having a room at university. It was a dark room. We were all guys, and it was a little bit strange. But we felt we were feeling very revolutionary. It was in 2017. And 20 days we didn't receive any response from the Minister of Defense and Minister of Education. No response, no reaction. And we put the first class strike. And in an hour, I received a call from the assistant of Minister of Education, and he asked us to have a meeting. And we told them, now we are busy. We are having students strike and we can't come. Indeed, we sent you a letter 20 days ago, and we didn't receive any answer. We will be very happy to receive an answer and written answer. And then we will understand there is a need to meet or not. And they sent us a letter that maybe we can discuss this problem, this student issue. And a similar process started at university. We have been targeted. This comes the next part. Our students were called to the dean, everyone to their dean. They were called. The people who had brothers, relatives serving at security, like police, national security service, or state apparatus, they received also calls that maybe you will have problems, your family going to have problems. And it's very important in this part to speak with everyone who is active and to go for everyone. For example, 6 students came from National Polytechnic University. And they told us, you know, David, we should say something to you, but don't voice up this, but we trust you. The representative of National Security Service at university. So it was the first time that we knew that National Security Service has a representation in university. The director had a conversation with us and told that maybe we will have some problems with our marks. So here comes the next part. It's very important to be very excellent, not to have problems with marks, not to have problems with lectures, so they don't have any way to target you. In our case, all students were excellent, all students were very polite, lecturers liked them, So it was very easy for us. We were not. It was very difficult then for us to target. So we started to have these class tracks, and we were going every room, each room representing our idea and saying, people, you can join us. And you know what was very interesting? The lecturers were coming and saying, you know, David, your group is speaking only about student problems, but you should speak about also lecturers' problems. We have also problems. And here we came to the next institutional issue. So there was a student council, but coordinated by administration, and the labor union of lecturers was also coordinated by the students, by the administration. And we went into this issue as well, and we found out that each lecturer, when signing his contract, pays money for this labor union, and nobody knew about it. So the salary that they receive, 1% of that salary goes to the labor union, and they don't know about it. Then we started to do research on this labor union, and we found out that the most important thing that they do, they send toys to the lecturers' grandchildren during this Day of Children. And also they give lecturers prizes during March 8 and April 7, so this Women's Day. So it was interpreted not very on the way as these days should be celebrated, but it was like gesture, very masculine. So they received prizes for this. So we started to do the class strike, and we started to have meetings, but we were telling that each meeting should be like online. If no mass media will be, no meeting will be. So Liberty Station was helping us a lot, CivilNet, these are independent mass media. There are now problems with everyone in Armenia about transparency, but at that time they were really very trustworthy. So they were coming to each meeting. And every day we were having at 8 o'clock at night, we were having Facebook Live and saying people what is going on. But even so we started to have these meetings with the Ministry of Education, and then I received a call from the spokesperson of Ministry of Defense. And during all this time, the class tracks were going. And what is very important, the street, what is going on the street. So the university, when this administration, when they want to target, they are not just targeting by speaking to you. So they are using relatives. They also use the guys who help them. So how to say, like strong guys who come, approach, and trying to make problems. And it's very important to face them, so the students who are with you feel the same protective. In my opinion, this was the most important thing that we managed to do. They couldn't encounter any of our students. And when revolution happened after this movement, 7 months after, some of these guys approached me. They thought like we are going to be the new administration, so we can give them some help, as the previous were giving them. They even told me that maybe you can be the brain and we can be the strong people. So we can. They told me directly. They promised us that we are going to have a room at the university. We are going to have an alternative student council, and we are going to have to receive a budget from university. So I thought, you failed, yeah? So now you want to succeed, you know, guys, but we are not doing this. And they told me that we were told by the head of the rector's administration that we should beat the active members of your group in front of students at the university. And after that, we did a research, and we found out like 15 such cases at university, starting from 2000, when students were beaten, like for their independent voice. And these people gave me like all this information. We had research on this, and this is on the internet, unfortunately in Armenian, but I can tell something. So, but we did this after. So then we received a call from the spokesperson of Ministry of Defense, and he said, you know, the Ministry of Defense wants to meet you. And we told them, so who is going to be in that meeting? He told me that you are going to be. I said, only we? He told yes. And I also asked, like, and mass media is also going to be? He said, yeah, we invited everybody. I said, have you invited Liberty Station, CivilNet? Yes, yes, we have invited. So I called some of my friends who were in student council at another university and asked, no, they called me and told, we are invited to meeting at Ministry of Defense. Then we found out that they called all student councils. So first he cheated. They didn't invite only us, they invited all the student councils. Then I called to Liberty Station. I asked, are you invited to Ministry of Defense? They told, no, we didn't receive any invitation. So it comes that they invited their student organizations. They invited pro-governmental mass media, and we were going to be 2 people against like 50 people. So they wanted to do like a vision, an illustration that we, like this small movement is against this good law. Like all student organizations are happy with it, and we didn't go there. We wrote a status that the spokesperson of Ministry of Defense is cheating person, and we are very disappointed with our government. They are like cheating, just cheating, and it helped us because they had this movement, and then we made fun of this. We told them. And the president, Sargsyan, he had an interview, he told like these people are against Armenian security and we should use any methods of them to suppress this movement. And we thought, so we are being successful, it's okay, that now he is also speaking about us. But unfortunately we were not managing to have results, and this is the problem during reactive movement, because students want some change. Every day you should say something what is going to happen the next day. But every day we can't do student strikes. Because like they are absent at the classes, they want something very fast to happen, but you should keep people on the street. So here is very important point. We were saying it no matters how true we are, it matters how many people we have. Because like you can be right, you can say everything right, but if you are alone, they will not pay any attention to you. But if you have people on the street, they will pay attention, because the only stuff that they feel nervous, these are people who are speaking against. So we decided to do something in order to keep people mobilized. So we decided to go to hunger strike, and some other people were doing, at the same time they were doing manifestation during the National Assembly, in front of National. They closed the street. And during the first day of the student strike, we were 5 people, hunger strike, we were 5 people, and 2 of them received calls from their relatives. One guy had a brother at police, and he came and told me that they've told that my brother is going to be fired. And I heard how his mother, father are speaking to him on the phone very nervously. So I said, okay, we should do something, so you'll be very bad, and we will call medicine. So he smoked a lot, like 15, he was not smoking. He smoked 10 cigarettes, and his pressure came down, and we said that he's not okay, and he walked out. Another student received a call. His mother was a teacher at school, but he told, no, I'm going to stay. He told his mother, I'm not going to out. So, but unfortunately, police were successful. They pushed the students, and we went to the students because so we went there, and I received a call from the head of National Assembly. He told that we want to negotiate with you. So we came together with our organizational group. It's very important that no any decision was made by 1 or 2 persons. We're always discussing it with the organizational group. It was transparent. So we told, okay, if we go to the negotiations, maybe we will take something. If we not go, we will not be able to have a student strike next day. Some of the students were against, and they went out. Some of us, I was for. I said, you know, we don't have the aim to change the government. This is not a political, it's a political movement, but this is not aimed to change. Our aim is the student problem. We announced about this, and we are not going to be any party agenda. And to say you that, the party who is now governing in Armenia, they approached us. The minister of now he is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I told him, you know, like all the parties in Armenia have very low reputation. We don't want to be associated with any party. This is a student movement. I don't want to insult you. I believe you in person. Like, I respect you, but this is a student movement. Please don't do anything to be associated with us, because this was used by the university administration against us. They were telling, like, these people are guided by the university. And you know what is important? During this movement, at first, very publicly, it was spoken about the Soros agenda. Like, these people are from Soros, they are sent from West, and they are going to destroy Armenian values. So it was I didn't know about Soros at that time, about Open Society Foundations, nothing I know about them. But it came that we are sponsored by them and we are against our country. So we had our first meeting at National Assembly, then we had a debate. We won that debate. And all the people who were saying that if these students go and meet with the National Assembly, they are affiliated with this government. And the magazine of current Prime Minister wrote an article about us, criticizing us, that like we are future Sir Sargsyan and Sharmazanov, because we started to speak with the corrupt government. But we didn't pay attention to this. We thought we have our agenda. They can criticize us. But we should have small changes. Like we have a big wall. If we want to destroy this wall, we can take bricks of it. Otherwise, we can't destroy it. So then we had the negotiations, and after negotiations, I couldn't find my friend. It was morning, I called him, he was not at home. Then we received a call that he's in the police. I called the head of the National Assembly. I said to him, you are a cheater, as the spokesperson of the National Assembly. Why my friend is in the police? He saw like, what is going on? We are going to solve this issue. Then we asked the police what happened. They told us in the district of my friend, somebody took gas balloon, and your friend has a car, and the thief also has this car. So I told them, so the person we had the same car, you took all this person to the police station, and that's when we are doing the investigation. It was clear for us, and after I spoke with the head of the National Assembly, after 5 minutes my friend was set free. But so we had this like discussions, debates. We met everybody. We had the Prime Minister meeting. They invited us to work with them. In the meeting, they told us, you are very smart people. Why don't you want to work with our government? We said, you know, we don't want. We are still in the third year. We want to do master degree and other stuff. And we went for the second hunger strike. Me and my friend, it was 5 days. And it helped us because it mobilized a lot of people, and they changed the law. They changed the law, and now people receive this deferment. So it was the next step. And then we went establishing this. So it were reactive movements, and then we established proactive movement. This is the Restart Foundation, and every year, starting from 2018, we are having these student camps, because we understood that with reactive movements we can't make a lot, we should be proactive. So we established the organization, and we started to work on higher education, on corruption, and we did some researches, and we started to work more proactively. And after 4 months, we established Restart at 2018 January. This revolution process started in April. And we had already these chains at universities. That's why we were, yeah.
Well, my next question was going to be how the role of Restart and the political movements and the student movements changed with the revolution, and how did you become connected with the oppositional movement of Nikol Pashinyan, who in marched towards Yerevan demanding people to reject Serge. So how did the student agenda change? When did you start wanting kind of regime change?
So, like in every revolutions, maybe So mostly in the countries where the humanitarian studies is not developed, so there are no very good experts, not good researchers. A lot of stuff about our revolution is also not very public, because books were not written about it, not enough researches. For example, we had a book about revolution like 20 days after this revolution. So it was really, now the person who wrote that book is very famous expert. What is important? Revolution in Armenia didn't start like all know that it started on April, but it didn't start on April. And it was not initiated only by the party who is in the rule now. There were grassroots movements, like people who had trust in society, because these people were doing civic activism long before the revolution. So there were transport fee problems, there were like some problems with taking the gardens, making buildings there. So there were two movements before the civic party started to civic contract party. This is now the ruling party. And all these two movements, so there were two movements, they were invited by Nikol Pashinyan to their party center, and he represented what is he going to do, their party. We were also invited as student initiative. Like me and the guys who you saw on the video, like two people, like we were mostly three people at the beginning, but then we became more. So we were also invited there. And the only agenda was to refuse to make Serge Sargsyan, like you mentioned, not to become prime minister, because they changed the constitution. And there were another two movements. So we also went to that meeting. And before that, the same party called us several times from this 2018 January, 2018 April, to their meetings, but we didn't go. They had some movements, for example, against the prices of electricity, but it was in January, but we didn't go there because we were not trusting them very much. And we didn't want to affiliate it because we were pro-student movement. So we went to that meeting, but we were taking part in the initiatives organized by other two civic movements, not the ones organized by the party. And here comes the next part about Armenian Revolution. Why? One of the most important things why it was successful, because it was decentralized. Before that, all the opposition movements were coming to the Freedom Square and asking the government to resign, and they were not resigning. So I don't want to make their work, to diminish their work. They were very important people, very important movements. But this methodology has proven to be non-efficient. So there was need to change this. And from the grassroots level, the group of Nikol Pashinyan entered Yerevan on April 13. And he also went to this Freedom Square. And 2 days he was there. They entered university, they entered Rato station, but they were going back there. And on the morning of April 15, people were really disappointed because they thought that it was not going to work, because people were decreasing, the number of people was decreasing. And we had a meeting in the morning. There is a famous cafe. If you will be in Armenia, it's Kazilyok. It's near Opera. We had a meeting there. And a person from civil society suggested that we should change the methodology. So this suggestion came from the civil society, not from the political party. And as we see that civil society is also becoming more active, we told that we are also going to participate. Before that, we were not participating, and their youth was not able to mobilize students from the university, because these bad guys didn't even manage them to enter university. This is a fact. They didn't even manage to enter university. They took these papers, they torn them, and said, go away from our university, we are having classes and you're disturbing us. But if you ask this person in which faculty you study, it will be difficult for him to answer. But it was on that way. So the process was then centralized. We put student movement, student strike. And all our students from other universities, we had already chain there. And we had the meeting at 8 o'clock. So we outpassed the police. It was really very important. Even 7:45. So it will be difficult for police to mobilize. So with, for example, for about 50, 70 people, we didn't do it very publicly, because if they saw a lot of people walking, they will approach. Even I didn't go to that place on this very, very big street. I didn't went on that street. Like with the buildings I went, so not to be noticed. And we came to that place that very fast. We closed this, with rubbish bins. We closed, so it will be very difficult for them to react. And it was very important to be there before the classes started. So students were not entering the university, they were coming there. And it was a place near all the universities. So we went there and we started, and then, so it accelerated, like, it was decentralized. It was said, like, you don't need to come to the Freedom Square. Just close the road in your house. So because the first thing was not to win Sargsyan, the first thing was to win police. And we even put an event that catch us if you can, like the police. And we were saying, like, the first line of the students is not doing anything, so the police catches them, and before others run. So they were running, you saw in the video, they were running with us, and it helped us, because the most also important thing was to crush this atmosphere of fear. So we were making it to be funny. So even at that time, me and my friend, we were running, and CivilNet representative, he was running with me with the video. So it was live translation. So, and what was important, we were saying, when you are going to the police station, it's really funny there. Like, they ask you questions, what you want to do, what you are doing, and we are saying them, you know, we are fighting against corruption. And like 80–90% of these people agree with us. They are thinking, you know, you are right, but we are just working, we don't want to be fired, man. And we were speaking all this information. But also from the second part is, like, as I told at the university, like, when we were going to these police stations, we were telling them, okay, if you bully one of our guys, or if you do some not good compliments to our girls, you're going to have problems. Like, don't think that you can do what you want to do. I even went to the head of the police there, and I told him, you know, this may be over, like, maybe you will not succeed, but you are going to be failed, because I remember your face, and your face is going to be on all the streets of Armenia, on the Facebook, as the person who tried to say bad compliments to girls. And he told me, what do you want for me? I say, like, I can't have any. So there was a very interesting conversation with him, and he was really frightened, because I told him, like, your government is not going to be good with you because you made some noise, not sufficient noise. So it really worked, and Nikol Pashinyan was very good at keeping people, and like, he was very good orator, he was doing very good speeches, and as this fear movement was demolished, and police was not able to take so much people in the police station, Sargsyan resigned. But what was our problem? We had our own student agenda. And we participated in the revolution with our own this agenda. It was like to change this board of trustees, to change the student councils and university. And they promised us that they are going to change our rector, but they didn't do that. So after 20 days of the revolution, we were made to do another strike at our university. And we occupied the main building of the university, and saying that we will not go out until the rector is not designed. And they promised us that they are going to make him resign, because it was their own authority. The prime minister had that. He was going to put just one signature, because with the law he had that opportunity. But they didn't.
At this time, Pashinyan,
Yes.
prime minister.
Yeah, he was the prime minister, and he didn't do that. The Minister of Education came at night to the university. So he was you saw him on the video, we were together. And he told me in 3 days we will have a decision and he is going to resign. But he didn't resign. And something very interesting happened at that night. The representative of the rector came. No, sorry. I received a call from one of my friends. He said me, a guy wants to speak to you. I spoke to this guy and he told me, can you let the rector to go home? I said, but we don't suppress him in the room. But according to my information, he can't go outside. And they already started to have, the newspapers were writing that director of university, because of heart problems, is at hospital. And this is because of us. So I started to receive calls in the morning. We stayed at night in the morning, and these journalists were asking me, David, how you feel yourself? Because this person is very bad, and because of you, maybe you'll have very serious problems. But they didn't know that at night with my friend, we went to that same hospital to see our rector, how his health is. And from the hospital, they told me that nobody came here, and your rector is not here. But many people knew that we were the problem, why the rector had problems. And 2 years ago, when he died, they were writing that we were the people who, because of him, he had this heart attack. So this was a misinformation that was used against us. But even this rector, during our meetings, we had 2 meetings together, he was telling me that, you know, David, you are right. He was looking to the picture of Serge Sargsyan behind him, the president. The problems are with the president. We are not guilty, like they are keeping us. So we started to have just 2 minutes. We started to have our movement against both the government, the university. They didn't change the student councils. They didn't change the labor union. They didn't change anything at university. So for us, it was very important to be institutionalized, but they didn't let us. And so they have the same student councils now that they had before. And as these people are comfort people, as they had good relations with the previous government, they had not very bad relations with this government now as well. And when we continued to we were attacked by a propagandist person who was the advisor of the police. I'm sure he was working with Russian security service, with our security service. And he started to target us for 3 months. He was giving us swears on the internet. In Armenia, it's very difficult. If you are sweared, you should respond. So it's not easy. Maybe we will have some change in culture after, but we don't have it now. And we were students, we should respond. So we decided to take him to the rubbish bin. And we were accused of kidnapping him. And we were charged from 4 to 8 years. So 4 years our case was going in the court. We were not able to leave our country. And just 2 years ago we were acquitted. But now he went to the European court. And he is working, yeah. So
So now Restart continues.
Restart continues.
Its activities to improve the student and the transparency.
During these 5 years, Restart has worked directly with more than 10,000 students. When we started, there was only 1 Restart in Yerevan. Now there are 5 Restarts in different regions, also in Vanadzor. We work both the government with the university, but now it's very difficult for us to work the universities because the administration of these universities were the people who were with us during the revolution, but now they are not doing anything. So it's even the ministers of education, 2 ministers of education were some of our colleagues during the revolution. One of them was very passionate. He was a dean. He was calling me every night to speak to him. He was telling about his experience, that he was oppressed by the administration. He was giving me a lot of information. But when he became the Minister of Education, he told me, you know, David, like, we are going on the evolutionary way. This revolutionary way is deeply difficult. So, but, yeah.
Now, since it's 7 p.m., I would like to open the debate. If anybody has any questions for Mr. Pashinyan, then feel free to raise your hand, let me know. Allow the people to. Yes, please.
Thank you for your interventions. Just a quick question. What can explain the current immobilism?
What?
Immobilism, or the fact that it is not things are not changing currently in Armenia for students.
The student agenda is connected with the policy that the government adopted. Like when we look this transition of democracies, especially the law enforcement bodies, it is always told that during this democratization transition period, you should first have changed the institutions, especially the political ones. However, our government adopted not this way. They adopted the evolutionary way, because they were frightened of being targeted. So they were frightened to have a position against them. So they didn't want all these institutional changes. And educational system is very good example of this. So they didn't want to have big changes there. And this energy, it's not going to live forever. This energy of having a change. This energy started to decrease. And the main bodies who were for these changes, and this was the civil society, and we were also part of this civil society. After the revolution, very immediately, all the civil society was targeted as a Soros representatives. And the government was not doing anything in order to protect, to help the people with whom they came to the power. Even this propaganda became so strong that some representatives of the government were thinking, we don't have anything to do with the Soros. We didn't receive any money from the Soros. But some people of this same even people who worked in Open Society Foundations were working in that government. But these people were not doing anything publicly. This is the truth. And I told them this. They were saying, like, you know, it's difficult. And even a representative from the government told me, you know, the civil society is a wall between us and this opposition mostly coordinated from Russia. And when they hit you, like, you protect us. We don't want to be that wall. And I told them, you know, when this wall is going to demolish, they will come to you. So they didn't want to do these institutional changes. The civil society weakened. And like after 2 years, we had a war in Armenia, in Nagorno-Karabakh, but then also it came to Armenia. We had big escalations, and the security agenda became so urgent that there was not very much room for other discussions. And this has been used very wisely both by the government and by the opposition, because the opposition has still strong representation at universities, because their lecturers, these deans, all are from the same mental order. And these people use the university in order to stop this democratization. For example, they say to students, you know, you had this revolution and now you have this war. And because of that revolution, we lost the war. Because we were very good friends with Russia before that revolution, but after the revolution, as we become democratic, Russia is not our good ally. So that's why students not be very active, because you should be very informed before entering politics. And that, taking also into account that there are no institutions, the student councils are the same, it's difficult to mobilize students another time.
Thank you for that answer. Over there.
Hello. Thank you for your inquiry and your talk. By the way, I'm from Azerbaijan. I have completely different views about my country's actions. My name is Bahruz Samadov, maybe you've heard. Yeah, completely against what Azerbaijan has done. I have a question about recent events in Armenia, rather. As I know, recently some students were detained from American University, from other universities, those who stood against Pashinyan. And maybe they have different views about things than you, but still. Do you think that if these things are true, do you think that Pashinyan's government, I won't say they repeat the same authoritarian tactics of Sarkisyan's government, or Pashinyan's government, but still, do you think that this shift towards security discourse, there is also like a little bit shift towards this, not authoritarian, but a little bit, let's say, tough measures, because the treatment of students, I think it's kind of like a mistake. Yeah.
If before 2018 it was like very clear, we had an authoritarian government and we had like forces who were fighting democracy. After 2018 it became very complicated. It's not very easy to differentiate between black and white. The thing is that now we manage something with more like hybrid. But to say the truth, mostly these many students, there were some student movements after 2018, but it was mostly organized by parties. So these students had affiliation with parties, and there are several oppositional parties in Armenia, and which are mostly connected with the previous government, and they didn't manage to assemble a lot of people, because also there is a big apathy. To say that this government is going to authoritarian rule, there are some, I think, indications. In some parts there are some authoritarian practice, but the thing is that the government is not so much strong to do that. They are not just so much strong. Maybe they will be so much strong they will do that, but they are not. I don't want to go, if you are interested we can speak about the political part, but about the student part, they have not been very big stuff. They were just small events. And the police is also starting to work wisely. Yeah.
Go ahead. Hi. I have a question. How did you know what to do?
Sorry?
And you were a student, right?
Yeah.
How did you know what to do? Why did you care? So many students and you were the one to care. Also, when you talk about it now, it's of course, it's something that happened, so you know what happened. But then sitting there, it seems like you made a lot of very correct decisions. And I was just wondering, how did you know where to start and what to do next? And how did you know to call people when you had to call people? How did you know to check if the meeting was legit? So all these things, where did it come from?
I think there's some important parts. The first thing I think is this wish to have justice. And me, and also with the friends whom I have been surrounded, all these people in every social institution that we were, it was school, it was military service, I was always for the justice. And for me, it came that nobody should be mistreated, nobody should have some privileges. And when you have that vision, it's easy for you to understand. So this is the first. The next thing is that indeed the civil society organizations did a lot in Armenia before the revolution. And the students who were active, all these students had some informal education. For example, I was working in observation missions, as an observer, then coordinator. Some of my friends were working with European Union project a lot of. Then it's very important to read books. We friends were really into these books about student movements in 1960s in Europe. We were reading a lot about democracy, about institutions, about corruption. So it was coming from this, and I think the family is also very important. The place where you grow up. So if you are in a place where already like it speaks about justice, about right, about the stuff that force should not be used in order to reach a goal, but rather like speaking. This was, I think, the main stuff. Yeah. And also, no, I felt like after these events we became acquainted with some people who were active in Armenian opposition and civil society, so they gave us a lot of advice, but mostly it was about restart. But before that we were on our own.
Oh, we're back there.
I have a question. How and at what point did the name Velvet Revolution come up? Did you guys come up with it, or did somebody external do it? Did the media come at that point? Because also here in Czechia it's such a big symbol.
It was declared by Nikol Pashinyan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was declared by him. He said that we are starting the Velvet Revolution. Yeah. So it was, yeah. I don't know how he came to that mind, but I know that before starting this, he read a lot about movements, and I was told that he was spending a lot of time in a room reading about all of this. And the thing that these tools, like the walking, where to enter, how to speak, there was an initiative group. Unfortunately, these two people who were planning all of this, one of them left Armenia. Second one had a position, but he's not very active. So yeah, it was declared by him.
Your question?
Do you have hope? I mean, because the mood in Armenia has changed since I lived there, and there's the student fight, the emotions and motivation. I just think the disappointment since the war outside in the last couple of years. Do you see students still coming to restart on their own? Do you feel like there's a new generation who will still carry on what you're doing?
It's difficult to answer to this question because, like, as we have understood, a lot of things happen when we don't wait for it. But like taking into account the objective circumstances, I'm maybe more pessimistic than optimistic. Because as we know, like in every political process, especially when it comes to movements, there should be objective and subjective reasons. For these objective reasons, we don't have very much like prerequisites for this. From the subjective part, students were one of the main targets of manipulation and propaganda during all these 5 years. And like for you to know the level, like he was not very youth one, but he was in the middle. He's very active now. He's very famous journalist. He's having interviews. He told that I regret that I took part in the revolution. So that's the problem, and a lot of people think on that way. And during these 5 years with my friends, we went a lot thinking about what we could have done on another way. So I'm pessimistic that because a lot should be done before something will come. But the people who are active now in Armenia, I think they have other interests. And the problem is that it's very important that we know now, after revolution, especially now, we need more education, another type of education. The tools, the thing that we knew before the revolution are not very relevant now, because we have now other problems, we have other threats, And it proves that we were not very prepared for this. And the change of the current government also, like, I mean, not on the revolutionary way, I don't think it will be. Maybe it will be also on that way, but on the, with elections. For this we need new agenda. And for the students we also need. But unfortunately this production of new things, new months is not happening. Because every time we are thrown back. And this is not just it's organized. That new agendas, new topics should not be relevant. That's why they try to move back. This is done by the lecturers, this is done by maybe not the Prime Minister, but the head of National Assembly for sure. So the position is very good at this. So we have like this, and also civil society is not very ready for the current challenges. And this is also our civil society was stronger before the 2018 than it is now.
Any other questions from the audience? Yes?
I have a bit off-topic question, but how do you and the students view, and what's your opinion on the whole situation about Nagorno-Karabakh?
About Nagorno-Karabakh, and before that, what you told?
What are your opinions as students? How do you view the situation?
Situation in Nagorno-Karabakh?
Yeah, how are students acting or organizing to help, or any civic activism going on around?
Students' role in?
No, what's their opinion about what's happening?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so mostly before 2018, like to speak with facts. For example, it was very difficult at Yerevan State University to have a diploma or master thesis about Nagorno-Karabakh. Like the lecturers who should guide these students, like nobody will even mention that, like we have negotiations, and the negotiations, things like this are being talked. For example, that Armenia should give back the 7 adjacent territories to Nagorno-Karabakh. So mostly it was closed topic. And it was not discussed on that level as now it is discussed. Secondly, all, like our history books, students also as well, like, and it's not also don't write, but Armenians always lived in Nagorno-Karabakh. But from the perspective of political part, it was not spoken, it was not debated. And it was our fault. Just to say just another fact, our first president, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, he was mostly the only person who was speaking that Armenia should go to concessions. And during 2017, he collected 2% of voices. So for me, it's easy to refer to this because this is a fact. So like we can refer that 98% of the people were not for like concessions. After the war, a lot of things changed. Like the position, the government, they started to speak about the necessary concessions done before that, about finding dialogue with Azerbaijan. The Russian topic became discussed on a very different angle. So, yeah. And now, but the recent events that happened in Nagorno-Karabakh, this changed a lot. Because if before that, I think there was a big room for real peace, we can have peace. Like, we can have this peace agreement. But it will not be, I think, people want to live in peace. But it will not be very, like, dignity peace. Like, we can say that we want to have this peace, but what happened before, like, in September 19. This changed a lot because everybody left Nagorno-Karabakh. 100,000 people left. Children were killed. Women were killed. So now it's very difficult to say that, if I think I was for that, I am for the direct discussions with Azerbaijan. And I think in the South Caucasus, if we don't have direct discussions, we will always be in these geopolitical problems. We need these discussions, and we should have to do some concessions in order to find, because when you negotiate, you should be able to you should not wait for the war and to just give, because when you give, they ask more. So, but mostly I will tell that for students, youth understand that we need peace, but also it is also a very emotional topic, because mostly everybody has a relative who died during all these 3 years. And the thing is that Armenia has declared a road that he wants peace negotiations. The Prime Minister even told that with Nagorno-Karabakh, Armenia recognizes territorial integrity of Azerbaijan. This means that Armenia recognizes that Nagorno-Karabakh is part of Armenia. But the recent developments show that we are dealing something with another. Some forces are not interested that there will be stability in South Caucasus, and this is mostly Russia. And we know that Armenia is in the neighborhood of authoritarian macho guys. Erdogan, Ilham Aliyev, there we have Vladimir Putin, south we have Iran. And for Armenian democracy is very difficult to know, because people think maybe because of this revolution we had all of this. Now we don't have democratization very in high level, institutional, not big changes, but we also are losing. So yeah, if the recent things in the Karabakh were a little bit different, there will be talks. But it became very actual now that people say, and Armenian diplomacy was not very inefficient, that this was not a territorial conflict. I'm reading your newspapers. There is written the territorial dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It was not, I think, very much territorial dispute. It was more a wish of people to determine how they want to live. And they had this census, they had this referendum. I'm not speaking about having all the territories without and independence, but also to think that 100,000 people can leave their lands in just one day. This is also not, I think, the 21st century values.
So we have room for one more question, or how?
One more.
Yeah, one more quick question. So if anybody has one, yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the stories and the presentation. It was very much valuable. Some of the filming, the shooting kind of reminded me the days, and I was a part of it, of course, as a journalist covering it. My question is more about the research you mentioned doing as a PhD. You said you're doing about the democracy and security, right? I would assume it's the case of Armenia, is it? So what a country does when, as you mentioned, is surrounded by authoritarian countries, basically has to exist in an authoritarian neighborhood between Russia, Turkey, Iran, and Azerbaijan. What a country does in a situation like this, of course, many think that the government, Pashinyan's government, promised to deliver, they failed. But nevertheless, the country definitely is way more better than it was. So there is certain democratization. There is, perhaps we have to mention that the freedom of press in the country is definitely better than in the neighboring countries, for instance. Feels be improving. Well, they failed a lot, but of course they did something too. Anyway, what a country does when is in a existential crisis like Armenia is, and surrounded by authoritarian government, where the democracy to some extent becomes a security threat, because none of that countries, particularly Russia and Azerbaijan, want to have a democratic country next door. What Armenia does and what the rest of the world who might care about democracy can do to help a small country of around 3 million people to kind of survive.
I think there are two main directions. The first one is what we do, like the homework that we have. It's about security service, about the defense, about all the infrastructures. Because what happened in Armenia, this was not only the loss of the government, but it was the humanitarian field also failed. Because all these researchers, all the experts were saying that, you know, Armenia is the strongest. So when we have institutions, and I think that only in case of democracy we can have institutions. I'm not speaking about, like, there were also institutions during the Soviet Union. They were considered to be very strong, but we saw what happened to them. Of course, Azerbaijan is some ways stronger than Armenia. Also, Russia is stronger, but we can't never compare this strength with stability and the institutions that Western countries have. So we should do a lot of homework, and it doesn't have to do with any Armenia's direction to the West or to the Russia. It's about our stuff, because when you have democracy, you have discipline, people are accountable, the government is accountable, people are speaking, and there should be efficiency. There is no other way. From the second perspective, this is also somehow connected with our friend's question before about Nagorno-Karabakh. It's not now spoken a lot, but if Armenia was not democracy after the 2020 war, I think we will have more problems. Because I will just give one example, and this is a fact. In 2020, during Jermuk escalation, this was the time when Azerbaijan intervened Armenian sovereign territory. These fightings were stopped by the intervention of Russia. By the USA. By the call of Jack Sullivan, the security advisor. And it was declared that the war was stopped by this call. Then there were escalations after that. And for you just to know, in each place where Azerbaijan attacked, there were Russian observants there. They left 6 hours before that. So they know that there's going to be an attack. And this is connected with, you know, like with the topic of this Russian Union state. They did it in Belarus, they declared they are going to do that in Ukraine, and Armenia is also vulnerable to this topic. And on the highest level it was declared that Russia is using Azerbaijani aggression to decrease Armenian resilience level. So Armenia will call and say, you know, hi, maybe we can restart this Soviet Union stuff. Because in 1920 it was on the same way. Atatürk attacked the head of Turkey, the president. He came to Armenian territory. At the same time, Bolsheviks came. It's like Gyumri and Ijevan, countries, cities in Armenia. And Armenia decided we are going to be in the Soviet Union, so to keep this part. And now we have the same problem. Like, people think maybe if we integrate more with Russia, we will have more security. Some people think that, however, we should work on our own resilience level, on our sovereignty to become stronger. I am for the second option. Because it's very important also to mention, it was declared by the Prime Minister of Armenia, by the head of Security Council, by the head of National Assembly. Armenian government, after the revolution of 2018, did not very much change its foreign policy. They have declared this on the highest level. We didn't change. It means that we didn't want to have any contradictions with Russia, so it means we hoped that the security architecture that we have, it will be kept by Russia. But Russia didn't do that. But even after it, however, after 2020 war, Armenian government also was not very critical to Russia. If we look to the positions, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the prosecutor, head of defense, key positions, besides like Minister of Education, Social Affairs, it was not changed. It only changed when Azerbaijan intervened Armenian sovereign territory after Nagorno-Karabakh and occupied 150 kilometers square territory. And now Armenia has no any other way than to try to diversify its foreign policy. Just some small facts, like it was even declared that Armenia gave money to Russia, $400 million for having military equipment, but they didn't neither give the money nor the military equipment. Maybe it can seem funny, but it's very difficult for Armenia because unfortunately we need to work more in order to be more efficient and also taking into account these geopolitical issues. Yeah, I agree with you that with democracy we can't, but I think democracy is not a goal, this is a method to be more efficient, and maybe in that case we will be more like efficient, yeah.
And thank you. With that, I would like to thank you all.
Sorry, just one small thing, sorry, about, this is also very important about this. The thing now, like maybe you read that maybe it's connected with only Nagorno-Karabakh, but now the story is not going very around Nagorno-Karabakh. Like we all understand what has happened and what will be, so the thing is about the route that Azerbaijan wants to connect with Nakhichevan. This is a route. If you are interested, you can watch. It's corridor. They say it corridor, but this is a route. And Russia is also very interested in that route because this will be a very direct way to surpass the sanctions. They will have route to Turkey, land connection to Turkey. And now the main problem goes into that Russia wants to use Azerbaijan aggression, and Azerbaijan, like they are using everything that can be to have more gains, and it can be working with the European Union or it can be working with Russia, because they are really efficient in representing these interests. But the thing is now about how can a newborn democracy with all its problems resist authoritarian countries who sell also oil to Western countries. So this is the main problem.
So I'd like to thank you all for coming and listening to our debate. I'd like to thank the Prague Civil Society Center for working us.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Very briefly. Hey everybody. So you can see here Prague Civil Society Center. That's how you can find us on social media and our website. And we will publish some materials as the result of this meeting. And we will also publish a series of materials about students-led political change in other countries. So please follow us for that and for the conclusion of this meeting.
Yeah, so thank you. Before, I'd also like to thank the Academic Senate of the Faculty of Social Sciences for supporting this event. And there are some chlebičky or sandwiches if anybody wants some. And again, thank you for coming.